Hi everyone, welcome back. Part 2 of Parshat Toldot. I want to focus on the story, or part of the story, where God comes to Yitzchak. There's a famine in the land. Another famine. Avraham had a famine in his day. Now Yitzchak has a famine in the land of Canaan during his life. And he goes to towards Abimelech, the king of the Plishtim, who was in Gerar. And there, God comes to Yitzchak and says to Yitzchak, do not go down to Mitzrayim. Don't do what your father did. Don't go to Egypt. You should stay here in this land. Everything is going to be A-okay. You'll have you'll have children. Your concern is how are you going to continue on everything that your father started and keep this new religion, I guess you could say. How could you keep it going? Don't worry about that stuff. Why? You're going to be okay because Ekev Asher Shema Avraham Bakoli. Avraham listened to my voice. What did he do also? Vayishmor mishmarti mitzvotai chukotai v'toratai. He observed my charges to him. I told him do this, and he did it. Right? He kept my commandments. He kept my laws. He kept my teachings to him. That's why you don't need to worry. You're going to become a great nation, like the stars in the heavens, because of what Avraham did. So the question is, what does it mean that Avraham observed all these charges and the mitzvot and the laws and the teachings? What did he do that was so special that's why don't need to worry about this famine? How does that help explain the pshat in the text of don't need to worry about the famine because of what Avraham did? You could say on a simple level, well, it's because of the zechuyot of Avraham, the merit of Avraham. So that's what's protecting him. But I think there's more to that. It's not just simply because of the merits of Avraham. Something Avraham did particularly. And what was that? Rabbi Yonatan Mishem Rabbi Yochanan, this is the middle of this midrash. They try to explain what is this all about. Rabbi Yonatan, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, says, Afilu hilchot eruvei chatzerot haya Avraham yodea. Even the laws of eruvei chatzerot, Avraham knew, and he obviously kept them. Now, what is an eruv chatzerot? Well, that is what we today just call an eruv. It is what allows us to carry objects and items within that boundary from one person's house to another, from here to the shul. It allows us to carry. That's called an eruv chatzerot. Literally means something that allows us to join together to the mixing of courtyards. How does an eruv chatzerot get off the ground? So you have to, build the structure of these door frames, almost as it were. There's two poles on each side with a pole on top, and it creates this door frame structure all the way around, and it's like a border wall to create one space. We're all sort of in this one space together. But you have to do something else also. And that is you have to have some sort of food that one person gives to another on behalf of everybody else, and then that food becomes the eruv chatzerot food. If you don't have that, you can't carry in an eruv. Ours, by the way, in our community, we keep that box. It's a box of matzah. Anybody is welcome to come and take it. It's in the shul office. And those matzahs that we have allow us all to carry because there's something that we jointly, we're own together. And really what an eruv chatzerot does practically is it allows us to be together on Shabbat. I can go to your house, you can come to my house, and we can eat together, we can be together, I can carry things to your house, and I can push my stroller to your house. It allows us to function together. That's the power of eruv chatzerot. It speaks to the value of togetherness in the Jewish community as an essential cornerstone. And when the Midrash says, quoting Rabbi Yochanan, what does it mean that he kept all the statutes and the mitzvot and even eruv chatzerot? It's nice, maybe Avram kept all, but he even was observing eruvei chatzerot. He was observing fundamentally what it means to create a community. He was not just following what God said, but he was doing it in a way that created a sense of togetherness, of peace, not just amongst his followers, but I think amongst everybody, who he came into contact with. Everyone came to respect him. That's what he did. He built sort of metaphorical Eruvei Chatzerot. I think that's what Rabbi Yochanan is trying to get at here. Now let's build on that. How does that come back to the famine? So hold on one more. Well, let's just wait a little bit and read a little more of the Midrash. The Midrash continues and says, Torotai, what is Torotai? My Torot, Shtei Torot. There were two Torot. Shekiyem afilu mitzvah kala shebal peh. He even kept the Torah shebal peh, simple mitzvot. The oral tradition, not just the written Torah kind of mitzvot, the big ones. And you're going to keep kosher, and you're going to keep Shabbat, and you're going to make sure all the holidays are observed, etc., etc. But he even kept the very simple, meaning that the low effort oral tradition laws, rabbinic laws, such as, and the Yefei commentary, the Yefei Toar on this, he says, what's the reference here? The reference here is to Eruvei Tafshilin, to the halacha that in order to cook on Friday, going on a holiday, Friday going into Shabbat, you have to, before the holiday starts, prepare an Eruv Tafshilin. These are a couple of cooked items that begin our preparation for Shabbat, for the Shabbat meals, and that allows us to cook on Friday. And what allows an Eruv Tafshilin to even get off the ground as a valid way to allow cooking for Yom Tov for Shabbat, because you're not allowed to usually prepare from one day of Yom Tov to another day of the week, even Shabbat, let's say, the reason that that's even permissible to start with, that an Eruv Tafshilin even helps you, is because the Gemara has this idea where since you may have guests that will show up at your door late Friday afternoon while it's still Yom Tov, not yet Shabbat, so you could still cook for Friday, okay, and you'll use it on Shabbat if no guests show up. But since the guests may just show up, you're allowed to cook. What does that mean again? Eruv Tafshilin is all about, and the idea of allowing you to cook from Friday into Saturday is built upon the idea of togetherness. That maybe people will show up and we should all have food together. We should be able to give them something. It's this idea of being together, of creating a sense of unity and community. And Avraham was a master at that. He brought people in. And he brought them in with that loving kindness. And that's the kind of love he fostered amongst his followers. The Midrash continues as Rabbi Simon Amar, Afilu Shem Chadash She'atid HaKadosh Baruch Hu Likod Yerushalayim Haya Avraham Yodea. Avraham knew that Yerushalayim was one day going to be called Yerushalayim. Look at the Midrash for the textual proofs to that. I don't have time to go into it. But Avraham knew there was going to be Yerushalayim. What is the city of Yerushalayim? In Tehillim, we're told that Yerushalayim is Ir Shechubra La Yachtav. It is a city that all are joined together. As the Malbim explains in his commentary there on Tehillim, he says, Ha'umah bichlala keguf, the nation of the Jewish nation is like the body, and it has lots of different parts to it, lots of different individuals, right? The Yerushalayim hi ha'ir shechubra layachtav. In Yerushalayim is the city that brings all Jews together. And this is exactly who Avraham was. This Midrash is speaking to the idea of Avraham as a person who brought people together. And that was an essential, fundamental thing that he observed in keeping the ways of God. It was not just following the commandments of God. It was doing it in a way that kept people together, inspired people together. Now, how does this explain, I think, the pshat in the text of what's going on here? Right? There's a famine, and God says, because of what Avraham did, you're okay. I think what he's trying to say is, you can stick around here. You're going to find help around here. Because Avraham created a space here in Eretz Canaan, in the land of Israel, where people are together. They're going to know you're his child, and he was a special person who brought people together in that way. You're going to find that you don't need to go outside of this place to find help, to get through it together. So what does he do? He stays over there and by Avimelech. They have a little bit of tension, But ultimately, they do make peace. They do find a way to work it out together. And Yitzchak never has to go down to Egypt because of that very same characteristic that he had from his father, of finding ways to make peace, finding ways to come together with you, like the way he comes together with Avimelech, and the way that he probably came together with others in the land of Canaan that probably helped him and he helped them to get through that tough time of the famine. And I think the value that we take away from this midrash, that we should take away from this midrash, is that it's one thing to observe all the laws as they are on the books, and you go through Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Berurah, and it's beautiful. Mwah! You did a great job. You've kept all the halachot. But did you make sure you kept Eruvei Chatzerot? It's a little rabbinic halacha. Eruvei Tavshilim, to bring people together. It can't just be, it can't just be that we follow the halacha without bringing people together. That is part and parcel of what it means to be an observant Jew. It means to bring people together, to bring peace between each other. That's what Yerushalayim is supposed to do. And Avraham knew about Yerushalayim because he kind of brought that concept into our consciousness. I hope you have a great Shabbat, and I'll see you next week.